since Thanksgiving. Trae Young exiting the arena.
Off to the desk, dribble the clock out here.
The only man in the hallway. This game comes to an end. And if this is indeed it, one of the most remarkable chapters in Hawks history will come to an end.
I'm going to be honest with you, it's not that often in the studio here. We have the Wizards up there on the board. Is that going to change in the near future? We'll see. I'll be interested to see what the reaction from people like on social and stuff is about Trae Young getting traded for this particular package. I mean, CJ McCollum is a quality player. He's actually played pretty well over the last couple of weeks. I think that actually sort of guaranteed that he was going to get traded now because, frankly, the Wizards can't really afford to win that many more games because their pick is top 8 protected. And if your pick is top 8 protected in this draft, you better make sure you keep it. I'm not sure how much Trae Young is going to play for the Wizards this year because, like I said, they need to finish top 4. This trade is reminiscent to me of what happened last year when the Raptors traded for Brandon Ingram and he had the worst sprained ankle in the history of mankind, but was in position to sign a contract extension after the season. I think Trae Young will eventually sign a contract extension, and I think we will probably not see him play that much, just like the Raptors tried to tank last year. They ended up winning too many games. But anyway, I think Trae Young is in a great position to refresh his career there. It's a situation that reminds me of when Chris Paul got traded to the Thunder, and he ended up using it as a great opportunity with the young rebuilding team there. I think the Wizards would like you to believe it's something like when Fred VanVleet was paid a huge amount of money by the Rockets a couple years ago. It was like the veteran presence. They wanted to play with their young guys and help them turn things around. But really the truth is that Trae's value in the league right now is tough because he's an undersized guard who struggles on defense, who makes, $50 million next year. It's not an evaluation on him as a person or a player, but those players are not in demand. And so I know that Shams keeps reporting that the Wizards were Trae's preferred destination. They were his preferred destination because there's only a few teams out there that were willing to trade him and interested in signing him to an extension. And look, like I said, there are really good players like Chris Paul and Fred VanVleet who have made moves like this and ended up pivoting their career. And this will be an opportunity for Trae to do that. And the Wizards will, probably be able to take advantage of getting a quality player for not that much. It is an indication of where values in the league are. And now, while everybody wants to talk about how many first-round picks Anthony Davis might get in trade, let the example of a player like Trae Young's trade value here show you what the palette is in the league for high salary players who are underachieving a little bit, but still a significant move. Could end up being one of the bigger moves of the season, even if I'm not sure it's going to affect the title chase at all.
All right, man, we got Trae Young traded to the Washington Wizards. Everybody got an opinion on this, man. Seen it last night. I forget the trade deadline like the first week of February now. So you're gonna start seeing a lot of trades, a lot sooner than we traditionally see them. But hey, check out the NBA playlist. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Corey Kispert, I believe he a good shooter. And they got CJ McCollum. He's somebody I thought that the Pistons should pick up. Check out my Detroit channel, Mercy Sports Talk. That link's in the description. That link's also inside the link tree. It's the first link in the description. You can find wherever I'm creating content there as well too. I like McCollum. I like that for Atlanta. A veteran team player. I think he's the president of the NBA Players Association. So yeah, it's a good move for them. They're in the win now situation in Atlanta. I don't mean like win now, but they can win something. But for Trae Young, most people said his preferred destination was Washington didn't give up much for him. I think the assumption is maybe Washington promised him to give him a max deal, and that's where the problem really came in at. He had 2 years left, $90 million. The last year was a player option. Most likely he wants to opt out and get a full max deal. So he went where he can get the money at. And that's the main motivation. You know what I'm saying? When you can get $300 million, $300 million. I think it's a disservice to himself and his family not to take that and not to get that money. So for him, that's more important. And when you talk about culturally, DC and Atlanta, DC was the original Atlanta. It was the original, it was Chocolate City. It was the original Hollywood, Black Hollywood. A lot of accomplished people. The weather is obviously a lot different there, in my opinion. It is. But DC is DC is lit. DC is still lit, you know what I'm saying? And, they kind of going through the whole thing where they cleaning up the streets and all that, but there's a lot of money to be invested into DC and real estate and all that stuff for Trae Young as well, too. So, DC is not lit. It's lit, real talk. That whole DMV area got much love for that. So, culturally, guess what? Culturally, he go to a lit city, and then he get his money. He don't really care about winning. Rob Parker was basically saying that, officially he ain't in the NBA no more. It's like the equivalent of going to Siberia. He just want his money. He want to play for his stats, and everybody don't want to win. And, I believe Rob Parker said also he felt like after this, Trae Young don't want no accountability. You know what I'm saying? Going to Washington, there's no accountability there for you to be a better player, for you to be a winning player. I mean, really, you just get your money, get your stats, and go home. You don't have to prove that you can win. And maybe he think he can win in Washington. I don't know. Maybe he didn't want that pressure no more. Maybe he feel like, hey, if I can carry Washington to the playoffs and win something with Washington, I'll prove Atlanta wrong. We don't know what he's thinking. Everybody is assuming. It's the assumption that we're assuming that he just going there for the money. And then you think about the winning teams that probably, for what they gave up for him, Kispert and expiring McCollum contract, they didn't give up much for him. They didn't even get a first-round pick. So you thinking like teams like Detroit, could have looked at him. Memphis could have did a swap for him and John Morant. You know what I'm saying? You looking at, teams that like the Lakers, they gave up nothing for Trae Young. They literally gave up nothing for Trae Young. You know what I'm saying? The Clippers, I'm just throwing out teams, Houston, you know what I'm saying? And, and maybe the whole thing with Houston is, Houston couldn't promise they was going to pay him. So, you thinking about teams that could have been in the win now. I mean, even a team like New Orleans could have put something together for Trae Young. They could have used him. Him, Trey Murphy, Zion Williamson, even trading Zion to Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Even trading Zion to Atlanta for Trae Young would have made some sense. You feel what I'm saying? So you could have put him with, you could have Trey, Derek Queen, Trey Murphy, the Alvarado kid. They got a squad over there. And I don't think they would have mind paying them. They got Ingram off the books. They got McCollum off the books. So you think about it like a team like New Orleans, could have gave you a Zion damn near for Trae Young swap. However, the salaries would have mixed a couple players here or there. That would have made a lot of sense. A team like Charlotte, you know what I'm saying? Maybe a LaMelo Ball for Trae Young, swap. And it's crazy. All the other possible teams, even in Toronto, maybe he didn't want to go to Toronto. They could have made something happen. So, he chose Washington. I think Washington was one of the few franchises that was willing to pay him, to commit to pay him. I think they was one of the, franchises where he didn't mind playing in DC. And so be it. He walked out mid-game. They traded him while they had a game going on, while they blew a team out. So, most people just think he chasing the bag. So, so nobody want to give up a possible, I don't know how much he would give up, 50, 60 extra $1 million, I guess, to win. And he dealing with injuries. Then he got a reputation. The reputation is horrible right now. The reputation is he, don't like playing with him. And I said this, I did an original video about his destiny, him wanting to go to Washington before the deal got done, but I took it down. And one of the things that I was saying about it is I don't really understand, like, outside of the money, like, is it just, he don't want to compete, but also I don't remember too many point guards that people didn't like playing with. You know what I'm saying? I don't remember too many point guards people didn't like playing with. People didn't like Chris Paul personality, but Tyson Chandler got paid. David West got paid. Chris Paul made people better. Jason Kidd got niggas paid. He made people better. John Stockton made people better. Magic made everything go. He made Kareem better, Cooper better, Byron Scott better. You know what I'm saying? So when you start going through the true point guards, the true pure point guards throughout history, Isaiah Thomas made the whole Detroit Pistons better. Those are true point guards. Rajon Rondo, he was a very important piece to Boston. And Trae Young, that just told you, I know he led the league in assists last season, 11.6. But I keep telling y'all, just because they get a lot of assists, it doesn't make them a true point guard. It's a lot of these guys who playing point guard, and they not a point guard. And I keep saying that over and over and over again. Trae Young got a bunch of assists, but a true floor general, guys like playing with them. They like playing with them because he gonna make everybody better. I'm gonna get paid playing with him. It's the equivalent of playing with Matthew Stafford. It's the equivalent. When you play with Matthew Stafford, he gonna feed you the rock. He gonna give you an opportunity to get paid. And Trae Young, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry, them niggas ain't point guards. I keep telling y'all. Jalen Brunson, they are Allen Iverson. They are, and I love Ivo. It's my favorite player of all time. But they are two guards playing the one guard. Those are not point guards. They should not be in the same category with Chris Paul, John Stockton, Jason Kidd, Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson. They shouldn't be in that category. Oscar Robertson. People like Russell Westbrook and Shea Gilgeous, they ain't no point. I don't care what the stat. I watched them play. Chauncey Billups, when he got the Pistons, he was a true point guard. And today, you got a handful of them. It's Cade Cunningham, Chris Paul, LeBron James, and and Tyrese Halliburton. That's a real short list. I think Ja Morant was on that trajectory. I think LaMelo Ball, if he gets serious, could be on that trajectory. But it's a very few true point guards left. And that's the crazy thing about it. There's very few true point guards left, man. I don't care what the statistics say. Assists don't mean you're a true point guard. A lot of these niggas playing for, they playing for statistics. Being a true point guard is being a true floor general and doing what the team need. If it's taking the toughest defensive assignment, if it's, sacrificing your points to make sure to feed the hot hand, if it's making people better. If you ain't, for me personally, If you ain't making somebody or most of the guys on the team better, you ain't a real point guard. You just masquerade. All the guys that I named, the top point guard, I mean, even guys like Andre Miller, they made people better. A lot of these guys are lead guards, scoring guards, they two guards. And Trae Young he hasn't really, I think he can be a true point guard, but he hasn't mastered making people better, and he hasn't mastered being a leader. And when him and Patrick Beverley was going back and forth, you know, when he going back, that ain't leadership, man. You arguing with a motherfucker who ain't on the league on a podcast. You know? You worried about what people say on the outside world. And then, instead of looking at your situation and saying, guess what? There have been 2 or 3 wave of Atlanta Hawk players who said the same thing. John Collins said the same thing. You know, they were saying the same thing. Now this generation is saying the same thing. At some point, you got to look at yourself and say, okay, where can I be better at? Maybe you go link with a Magic Johnson in the offseason. You go link with an Isaiah Thomas in the offseason, and they can teach you Kevin Johnson. Some of these older guys can teach you John Stockton. They can teach you how to complete the full Jedi point guard training, bro. That's all you need. You gotta take the ownership. You gotta take accountability. Everything fall on you being the face of a franchise. When y'all lose, it's on Trae Young. When y'all win, it's because of Trae Young. And until he get that, you know, it is what it is, man. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the link in the description. The first link, the link tree, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Cash App, Venmo, CJ Good 313, X. I'm literally everywhere. Join the Patreon. Peace.
Y'all have been editing Trae Young into photos with Victor Wembanyama since we found out that man existed. Y'all have been editing Trae Young's head onto Lakers jerseys for years and years and years. All for that man to request to be traded to the career graveyard of the NBA. I don't understand what went on today. I've been an Atlanta sports fan for my entire existence. And for somebody to rather be in Washington playing for the Wizards than play for the Hawks, the Mid-Atlanta Hawks, is perplexing to me. But even more perplexing, you trade away your all-star, which I've been saying Trae Young needed to move on from Atlanta for years, but you trade away your all-star for CJ McCollum? That's the new star of the Atlanta Hawks. They're not serious. There better be a larger plan at hand. As long as I've lived, the Hawks have been never relevant. We've never experienced the sniff of the smell of an idea of a championship. And I'm tired. You know, I grew up going to Hawks games, rooting for Dennis Schroeder. That was our star. Paul Millsap, Kyle Korver. That's about as good as it's gotten. Go get Giannis. Be fucking serious. We're not no little city. And nobody takes Atlanta serious. Like everybody, Hennessy, Cutwater, Lemon Pepper, fucking matcha, fucking Jada Wada, fucking city. Fucking 1942 ass, hookah ass city. No one takes us serious, and this is why. Like, oh my God. I was so ready for this trade to happen, but not like this. There better be a larger plan at hand. No shade to CJ. I don't know the guy personally, but he's not moving the needle for me. I'm sorry.